Hey there, you're listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion. Here's your host, RJ Carbone.
And a high drive into left center field. Stanley's going to watch another one fly. Are you kidding me? DiVincenzo a three. Bang! Bang! Knicks take a
Take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
At the wall. See ya! See ya! See ya! Mr. Nova.
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down and the game is tied.
Rose, you shook up the world again.
I did it again. But God did it, man. I really just had
Gonna have to. Brunson running away. Oh my! He has been the best player to put on that uniform.
Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 835 of the podcast. Welcome to BD4. The Knicks last night took a tough loss to the Los Angeles Clippers at Madison Square Garden, 126 to 113. The Knicks got off to an outstanding start in this game. They were up 18 to 5 in the first 6 minutes. And then the Clippers responded with a 7-0 run, kind of back and forth for the rest of the quarter. First couple of minutes in the second quarter, the Knicks are still on fire. And then really, like, from early second quarter, few minutes in and on, it was the Clippers dominating this game. Some of those Tibbs lineups, again, in the second quarter, we'll talk about. But the Knicks were outscored 100 to 73 from the 9:22 mark in the second period and on. And so, yeah, you got Harden, you got Kawhi doing their thing in the second half. The Knicks eventually lose this game, again, 126 to 113. Still no Jalen Brunson. Still no Deuce McBride. No campaign in the second half. Hopefully he's good to go on Friday. We'll see. But they definitely missed him. He was their best player in the first half. 15 points in 18 minutes, I think it was. Upping the pace, 3-point volume. We talk about that with him all the time. Desperately missed him in the second half. And the defense was there. But the Knicks lose this one, and they wore out in the second half. Could have been the fact that this was the second of a back-to-back. And they're playing a good quality, very quality playoff team. You know, the Clippers may not stand out in terms of where they are in the standings, or their record might not be amazing. When they're right and when they're healthy, when those two guys are on the floor, this is a team that's going to do some damage in the West. And the Knicks are now 0-2 against them. So, you know, if you like that stuff, that storyline, headline shit, where they're 0-whatever against Boston, Cleveland, OKC, LA, two LA teams, both LA teams, sure. But they're a quality playoff team, and the Knicks don't have anything close to a full squad right now. And if you're hoping to lock up the 3 seed, the Pacers lost to the Lakers at the buzzer last night. LeBron tipped in a game winner. So the Lakers avoided potential disaster there. But, you know, depending on where you want the Knicks to, who you want the Knicks to match up with, that could be good news for you. I personally don't give a shit. Play whoever you play and win. But that's, yeah, tough loss. There's a couple of things I'm going to get to. Some Tibbs stuff, lineup stuff, offense stuff, schematic things, fundamental things, some things we'll talk about. I think the way this game began, I thought the offense in the first half had moments where it looked very sharp. Like we've mentioned a couple of times now, when Brunson is not out there, Tibbs is a lot of the time forced to run actions in motion offense, right? He's kind of forced to play more of an egalitarian offense as opposed to a heliocentric offense. And you'll see the Knicks moving more off ball, sharing the rock more. It's more distribution without him on the floor because he's kind of forced to play that way. He can't just rely on Brunson to hunt for switches and get matchups at a pick and roll, favorable ISOs. And so with the Clippers cross-matching big and wing, Zubac to Hart and Kawhi to Cat, I thought the Knicks had moments in the first half, parts of the second half, not really, but they had moments in the game where they took advantage of it. You know, early on, they were running actions through Josh Hart with Zubac on him. You had that Josh Hart to Mikal split action where Mikal slips the screen early to beat the switch. I thought they did a decent job at times exploiting the wing or when they put a small on Towns. There were moments where he dunked on Batum third quarter. He has an M1 jumper over Jones Jr. He posted Kawhi a few times and got to the basket. Not to a ton of success, but they did a decent job exploiting the Zubac to Mikal matchup. Mikal would call Hart in to pick and roll to get the Zubac switch so he could get to his spot in the mid-range against Zubac in drop coverage. Even when the Clippers played it traditionally, they played it straight up, I thought the Knicks had some moments. Early in the first quarter, you get the Cat three-pointer off the pick and pop. Zubac is in drop. Kawhi makes a late switch. Open three. Towards the end of the first half, Campaign found Towns as a trailer in transition for a three-pointer. Zubac's in drop. Towns missed the three, but it's a good idea. You always want to hit Towns when he's a trailer against a sagging big and not matched up yet in transition. But, excuse me, but the Knicks also at times in this game had to, again, play against their own head coach because some of these lineups on the floor were just not optimal. And in the second quarter, you got the same old lineups where you had two non-threats out there at once. Tibbs should probably stagger a lot earlier in the game than he does. You know, Shamet is the first sub, and he does that knowing Mitch and Precious are the next two. Top of the second quarter, then, that led you to Hart, Precious, and Mitch. So you had three non-threats sharing the floor at once. Now, fortunately, Hart gets into foul trouble, so he spares the Knicks from having that lineup out there, but he still left Precious and Mitch out there on the floor without Towns. And then later in the game, Towns comes back in and he keeps Precious on the floor. So you got Precious at the 4 minutes in the second quarter as well. He needs to stagger a lot earlier to avoid this from continuing to happen. You know, these second quarters have been destroying the Knicks recently because he continuously goes to these suboptimal spacing lineups. And even, you also saw, we've kind of been warning about this. You saw the first game where it was really evident of the real legitimate offensive issues when you have Cat at the 4, right? When he's out there with Mitch Robinson. It got ugly in the second half. When Cat was posting and trying to drive in those minutes, because Mitch was also out there, it did not result in good possessions. And I think you're going to continue to see this when you finally run into good quality defenses who aren't the Washington Wizards and the Dallas Mavericks and the Charlotte Hornets, etc. You are going to see these offensive limitations show up more when Towns is playing the 4. It's basically the same thing as the Hart in Towns minutes when Mitch is not defending at an elite level. And early in the fourth quarter, there was one possession in particular. I want to see if I can bring it up here on the screen if you're watching the podcast. There was a possession here, early fourth quarter, where you have Towns, and he's on the right wing here. He's posting Batum with Mitch, you could see, on the weak side dunker. Now, Cat's going to take his first dribble, and the very second he does, you're going to see here Ben Simmons rotates off of Mitch to double the post from the back end. Right? He comes over, and now because of that, Cat dribbles into traffic, travels, turns it over. That's because Mitch is right there. This is not an angle where Cat can make that read and get that pass off. Ben Simmons is way too long. He's one of the bigger wingspans in the NBA. He's already got Cat, a guy in front of him. There's nothing he can do there. Simmons is coming off of Mitch Robinson because Cat was already too high up. He's not a good passer when he's facing up. When you got help coming from the backside, there's nothing he could do. That's because he's playing with a non-threat, and he's already got the 4 on him. This was a problem throughout the second half. You know, even in the middle of the third quarter, when you had mid-third period, you had Hart and Towns together. It was the same thing. Hart had Zubac on him. Towns had Kawhi. He was posting Kawhi on that same spot. But Zubac brings paint help off of Josh Hart to double the post. Cat ends up missing a jumper off of one leg against 2 defenders. So it's same thing, man. And even like, you know, middle of the second quarter, you go back to 6 minutes and change maybe in the second. Despite having the 5 out lineup out there, it was poor spacing. You had Mikal Bridges, who was standing in the paint, and that's when Cat tries to drive on Zubac, but Mikal's in the paint, so Kawhi is now allowed to come over and paint help and stop the drive. Cat drives right into Kawhi, loses the ball. It's a turnover. This one was more whatever. It's the cross-matching that bothers me when you have Towns out there with another non-spacer, right? And we're 72 games into the season now, man. There are 10 games left, okay? The seedings are all but locked up. So it's like have we gone this far and we haven't managed to figure out cross-matching yet? Whether it's playing more lineups with floor spacing that surrounds Towns, whether it's less post-up offense through Towns when you have these matchups and these schemes that you're seeing, right? More drives, DHO, pick and pop with Hart screening, or more wedge screening, more cross screening to avoid this stuff. We have not been able to effectively counter that. And when we can counter it, you know, it's going to hurt on the other end. You know, it's going to hurt the defense. So it's tough, man. I get it. I don't want to blame Tibbs for this one like everybody's going to do because they do every game. Because the Clippers are a tough defense. They can switch everything effectively, especially with Zubac. And obviously, there are trade-offs with certain lineups you go to, and the Knicks are not even close to healthy right now, so I can't fully put this on the head coach. There were some defensive breakdowns, you know, and speaking of like tipping your cap, you got 2 generational scorers, 2 absolute ISO bucket getters on the other side. James Harden is one of the most elite isolation point guards of all time, and he had himself a huge third quarter where He scores 16 of his 29 points, killing the Knicks from 3. Couldn't stop him. You get to the fourth quarter, Kawhi Leonard's turn to go off. He's another underrated isolation bucket getter. Huge fourth quarter. He scores 14 of his 27 points. So there was a lot of good defense. OG was just up on their grills, but there were times where the Knicks were just torched in pick and roll, and it was because their bigs were not doing the job. I thought Mitch Robinson was a total 0 in this game. This was by far his worst game yet, and he's been good. But, if you're going to sit the first of the back-to-back to be ready for the second, you got to show more than he did last night. I thought he had 0 effectiveness in the pick and roll, 0 activity on the offensive glass. He was a minus 22 for a reason. And I thought Towns had some very tough moments. The Knicks were weak dropping Harden pick and rolls early on, and it was working, but kind of towards the end of the set, like he had that possession at the very end of the first half. It's a Harden pick and roll. Cat's in a high drop on him, beat on the edge, takes a terrible angle, easy basket. And so with OG on James Harden for most of this game, the Clippers were spamming screens with their bigs to get to Cat. So I thought, instead of trying to fight over, maybe the Knicks should have, or play drop, the Knicks should have switched it more with Cat to Harden. And then they tried adjusting in the second half. You saw Tibbs try to hedge more. And what happened when the Knicks were hedging? Beat on the pass, beat on the drive. Harden's also a threat to draw contact, obviously. But yeah, Tyler Kolek got those third quarter minutes, and with Campaign out in the second half, it was Kolek's job to guard the point of attack. He was put into action some, and he was burnt because the Knicks in the third quarter tried to adjust and change up coverages, and Kolek was burnt on hedge and recovers. It wasn't all his fault. Sometimes there would be somebody else on the back end not rotating. And there were some good hedges where he did recover in time. But there were some tough moments too. Early in the period, he hedges a Harden pick and roll, doesn't recover back to Dunn. Dunn makes a touch pass to a rolling Zubac. I want to see if I can pull it up here. And Zubac gets a floater, right? And this is because, Kolek hedges. Okay, let's see if I can pull that one up. Kolek makes the hedge. Harden gets by him with the cross. And no, you know what? This is, here it is. Harden gets by him. So this one's the Kawhi. Okay, this was the Kawhi one later in the period. I want to see if I can get to the other one. This is the one I want to pull up. So Kolek's going to hedge the Harden ball screen, or hedge the Harden pick and roll here. And once he does, Dunn's left open. And because OG is playing James Harden straight up here, they're not switching it. They've got Cat in a drop. Kolek hedges, so his man's open. That's done on the weak side corner. Cat's got to make a late close to him, but because of that, he's got to abandon the roll. Nobody's really there to tag Zubac on the roll. Gets an easy basket over Mikal. So that's what you risk when you're hedging. When you're playing in aggressive covers like that, you're risking being exposed on the back end. And the Knicks were multiple times. Here's the one I first pulled up later in the third quarter. You get one where, again, he hedges the Harden pick and roll here. But Harden beats him on a crossover off the ball screen. He kind of splits the defense there. Leads into a driving kick. Kawhi's open on the weak side wing. Bang. That's the cardinal sin right there. You never want to let your guard, you never let the pick and roll guard beat you off the dribble. When you're hedging, you don't want to let him turn the corner. In this case, you don't want to let him split the defense on you, and he did exactly that. So I just thought he was beat a little bit. He had some rough moments. At the end of the third quarter, he hedges a Harden pick and roll. He's beat on a crossover off of the drive. It leads to a Harden floater. He misses, but Simmons tips it in. he was sought out, Tyler Kolek, in this game. His size is not going to help, and he's still, he's not the hedge and recover that Campaign is. So these are the drawbacks you get with playing Tyler Kolek, and Tyler Kolek is becoming a Knick fan favorite, if not already. And I love him just as much as the next guy does. But like when people are complaining about Tom Thibodeau not playing him, even when the Knicks are fully healthy, like you'll get these complaints. Why isn't he playing? Why hasn't he expanded the rotation to at least a 9.5? Like, it's because he does not trust him. And the defense is bad, right? He's a traffic cone right now defensively. And on the other end of it, he's a great facilitator, right? He makes great reads. He's got excellent vision, but you can't be a point guard and not be able to do things with the basketball. He's got no pull-up game. He doesn't have a driving kick. He can't penetrate without the pick and roll. There's not much he can do once he gets to that paint touch, if he gets there. You're a point guard, so we're talking about a 25-year-old rookie. So, like, there's nothing offensively. He was a 0 in this game. He shot 0 for 2. He missed both of his free throws. Like, you're a great passer. That's not enough to make you a rotation player. I think he can eventually get there to be a rotation player, but people screaming for it right now and calling for Tom Thibodeau's job because he's not a regular when they're healthy, this is why. When you run into quality competition, they're going to expose this type of stuff. He can't put pressure on defenses. But that was the defense. That was the Kolek stuff. Ironically enough, as we just spent 10 minutes criticizing them, I did think, we'll start with the starters. Cat was the best starter on the floor for the Knicks. 34 points, 14 rebounds, 4 assists. He shot 11 for 20, 4 for 7 on his threes, 8 for 10 at the line. He was a +2, 39 minutes, 19 game balls for Cat. I thought offensively he had a great game. Just obviously wasn't helped out by some of those lineups, and the defense is what it is, but I thought he was better than Josh Hart. I thought he was better than Mikal Bridges, although Mikal had some moments in the first half. I thought he was better than OG Anunoby. I thought he was the best one on the floor last night. So 19 game balls now in the year for Karl Towns. That's second among the starters behind Brunson. He's averaging 25 and 13, man. He's been great. It's just the same issues that we continue to discuss. And then you go to the second unit. I just because Precious was bad, Mitch was atrocious, Shamet is not an NBA player, and he's not providing enough. It kind of process of eliminates it to Kolek, because he did have 7 assists in 18 minutes. He finds shooters consistently, and if we praise Campaign for 3-point volume, Kolek delivers that in a different way, to where he seeks out shooters. He will find shooters and open them up and give them efficient looks. So he continues to do that. But again, the defense is bad and the offensive game is not there. But Tyler Kolek, now 5 game balls. So he's slowly making his way up on the leaderboards there. Yeah, that's pretty much it regarding this game. There's not a ton to pick apart. Tough team. Tough if the Knicks aren't healthy right now. Bad loss. Hopefully they're somewhat healthy and Deuce is back or Cam is back by Friday. I doubt Deuce will be back, but they are facing a team that's also going to be a little banged up in the Bucks. I don't think Dame's playing, and I don't know what Giannis is up to. So you got the Bucks Friday. 2 more games. 2 more games in the month of March. It's tomorrow, 8 p.m. in Milwaukee, and then Sunday, you're home against Portland at 6 p.m. So those are the last 2 games of March before you wrap up the year with a few games in April. And then before you know it, we will be in the first round of the postseason, folks. So we'll see what happens. I appreciate you all tuning in. We're going to head to a break. And when we get back, we will wrap it up with our trivia. Stay with us. Be right back. BD4 is available on social media for those who want to follow. You can find BD4 on Instagram at BD4Pod. You can find us on X at BD4Pod. And you can find us on Facebook by simply searching BD4. Hey guys, just a quick reminder, this podcast is also available in video format on YouTube. So be sure to go over to the YouTube channel, BD4, subscribe, like the videos, comment and tell me how much I suck or maybe how much you like the video. We'd very much appreciate it. Don't have time to sit down and watch a video? You can listen to BD4 on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And you can also watch the video format on Spotify too. If you feel like supporting the podcast, you can Venmo at Robert-Carbone-JR-28. We really appreciate your support. Do you enjoy Yankees baseball but are tired of hearing me yap? I have a suggestion for you. Go check out Yankee Crazy Podcast. Greg Gill is a Yankees podcaster on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and he's now selling merch. Go to yankeecrazy.myshopify.com. Stay connected with us. Visit BD4blog.com to explore our blog, tune into our latest podcasts, and follow us on social media. Thank you for being a part of this community. Okay, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to episode 835 of BD4. The Knicks lose 126-113 at the Garden last night. Let's wrap this one up with our trivia question of the day, and that will be it. All right. Well, in this episode 835, our question of the day: which former Knick has recorded the most triple-doubles against the Clippers? Mark Jackson or Clyde Frazier? Which former Knick has recorded the most triple-doubles against the Clippers? Mark Jackson or Clyde Frazier? Let me know the answer wherever you can reach me, folks. I appreciate you all tuning in, as always. With that said, that is all we got here. I'm going to wrap this one up, drop this episode, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you enjoyed it. And then, Yankees fans, we got opening day today. We have opening day. It's the 27th. The Yanks, the Yanks tip off. First pitch is at 3 o'clock. Rodon versus Peralta. Should be a fun one. I'm excited, man, which is why I've got my Yankees gear on. But I appreciate Knicks fans, you guys all tuning in, and I'll see you soon. Later. Well, if you made it this far, that means you listened to or watched the entire episode. Thank you. Just remember to follow, subscribe, download, rate and review, and all that fun stuff to help out the podcast. And I will see you in the next episode of BD4.